Thank you. I'm just going to quickly pop in the link here to the community. Everyone, for starting. Awesome. There we go. How were our Valentine's days for those who celebrated?
All good, yeah. Good weekend.
Nice. Nice. What did you get up to?
Spent time with a whole group of friends. Um, but I had a bit of a family incident this weekend. My dad landed up in hospital, so I had to
Hi.
balance the two. So it was, yeah,
Sorry to hear that. I hope he's
yeah.
all good.
Yeah, no, he's 94, so he's
Oh,
lived,
wow.
yeah,
I actually had an unfortunate passing in January. My great grandmother, she was 104.
sure, that is a good age, yeah.
Yeah. She's from Italy.
Yeah,
But she was incredible. I mean, she didn't have a walking stick, she didn't wear glasses,
yeah,
she helped around the house, worked on the farm, they have a little farm there her whole life, and she just passed in her sleep. Like we thought she
sure.
was gonna live until, like 120, but she just
Yeah,
never
that's
never never ended up dying. So it was crazy. But then unfortunately, yeah, in her sleep, she just peacefully
that's the
uh
best way, yeah, yeah.
yeah, which is a shame. Like it is what it is. But awesome. All right. Not awesome that, but I hope we all had a good weekend. Lots to cover today. So on today's call, before I start let me actually start recording immediately. What I wanted to cover today, which I think will be very applicable, will be interviews. So I've prepared something for us. Be going through an interviewing doc. We'll also have some like practical tips you can implement throughout the Loom videos. I've just been thinking about it a lot, so, like some little things we can also implement there to help you guys out even more. So we'll be doing a whole call just based on some content. If you guys want to make some notes, go ahead. Otherwise, what I can also do is I've got the Fathom recorder in here. I can also drop everyone a summary of the call that we have today um, into the Discord under the call recording, which I think will be quite helpful. So we'll just be running through all of the best practices when it comes to interviewing, everything you need to do to prepare and give yourself the best chances possible on an interview. But we'll dive into that shortly. First and foremost, does anyone have any questions, anything they want to cover, anything specific they want to ask? No,
Great.
easy as.
Yeah.
All right. All right. See, Carl, you've got a question.
Hello, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm just very confused about like the Loom videos. Like when do you record them? When do you send them? And things like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, like as soon as possible. You would be recording them, so you do the initial application, then from there, you'd be emailed the next steps. And then as soon as you get those, make sure you're sending the Loom immediately if advised to do so. I mean, 99% of companies will require it. You rarely see companies not asking for Loom videos. Maybe some will just go straight into a group interview or something like that, but you will need to do it as soon as possible. Just a practical tip as well is if for those who are applying to positions, don't go ahead and don't scroll up and then apply for roles that are weeks old. If you've seen roles just got sent through, apply to those ones immediately. Like the sooner it's been sent through, the better. So if you're online, like when did Jackson, has he posted roles today? Let's see. He posted yesterday. So say you were online at 12 o'clock yesterday and you saw those 19 offers come through. You apply immediately. If you're free, of course, on the spot. The sooner the better. Like speed wins in this industry. For example, guys, I think maybe it flew over some of your heads, but I posted a job on Saturday, I believe, to work with us at Seta Syndicate, a CSM role,
Mm.
and one person applied,
No, I
and I t
didn't.
and I hired Naz, right? Like one person of everyone applied, and I hired Naz because he was just the first one to apply. He applied 15 minutes after I put out the form. I waited about 6 hours, still no applications, and I said, "Okay, cool, we'll move forward." So obviously, not every company moves as quickly as that. Like I just wanted to get it done. Boom. He was the only one that applied. He got it done. So speed is what wins in this industry as well a lot of the time. Not all the time, but it's very important. The second you see something come through, apply immediately. Second you see the email pop through of the next steps, apply on the spot. The sooner the better always. That's always going to be the number one best practice. Like Stefan just sent through a role that he's now transitioned into being the closer for. I see here. He made £3,000 last month on that offer. Like, granted, we have the coaching call now, but after this call, if you guys want a role that you're going to earn good cash and apply for that immediately, there's no point waiting. Speed wins. So just remember that. Like, I know I'm giving you a long-winded answer, but when should you? As soon as possible. Always. That's the answer. As soon as you see it come in, apply immediately. But sweet.
Okay,
All
so
right. Does anyone go ahead?
must you first go and apply to the jobs and then you send out the Loom?
Yeah, apply on the initial type form, put the relevant code, always put the same answers on the initial type form. Then once you've put that in, you have your saved answers, so you can always copy and paste those. You just change up the code on the initial type form, and then the application will be emailed to you. And the second you get the email response from Jackson's team, then you apply immediately. Boom.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
I have a question.
sure.
I do want to ask that if you can only do part-time, is it even like worth it trying to apply for those that say full-time, or do I just have to wait until I see one that says part-time?
I would go ahead and apply anyways. If you can perform within the role, doing part-time hours, you can perform. But yeah, like I would still go ahead and apply. A lot of them won't stipulate, like it's easy to do the initial type form with Jackson stuff because a lot of them won't stipulate the hours in the initial block that he will send through. So anyways, go throw the code in, get it emailed over to you, and then you can make a decision from there. But I would still go ahead and apply. Like once again, my CSM role, I was actually looking to hire a female, to be honest. But no one applied, and that's part-time. That's like 1 or 2 hours a day. No one applied for that. So you just got to be on top of things. That's why I say very important. Make sure to have notifications on for the community. It's going to be a massive help. But sweet. All right. Yeah, what's up, Carl?
It's kind of the similar question. Next week, Monday, I'm starting with my classes because I'm full-time university student. So I just want to know, is it like, let's say I get a full-time, I apply for a full-time job, I get the job. How many hours a day do you like? I'm very good at managing my time, but I just want to know like how many hours a day are required when you work remotely and for a specific company.
It depends on what they say. But it would be like
Okay.
any other role. Like full time would probably be 6+ hours a day, and then part time would be 3+ hours a day. Something like that.
Good.
Depends. But yeah, like once again, guys, it all boils down to how badly you want it. Like Kitty on the call would know. EV, where when he was doing this, he was working two full-time two jobs, and one of them was part-time, I believe, and he was studying, and he did this. Like, if you
Okay,
really
so it's
want it bad,
possible.
you're gonna make it happen. Like,
Okay.
if someone took your family member and put a gun to their head and said you have to work 20 hours a day, and then we'll let them free in three months, you're gonna do it, or you're gonna be like, oh, I can't make the time. Sorry. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's you, Carl. I'm just saying for everyone on the call, if you want to make time, you can make time. Like
And
it's gonna benefit you regardless.
I have one more question. I'm busy watching Jackson's video, that like long YouTube video. And he talked about like experience and things you need to say when applying to jobs. What if you don't have any experience?
Yeah, so we covered this on the last call. So if you don't have any experience, it's not necessarily like the worst thing in the world. It will help out a lot, even if you don't have setting experience, say you have sales experience, hospitality experience, marketing experience. What you need to do is you can go down two paths. The first path, like Emma asked this question in the last call, would just be going down the route of I'm a beginner, but then you also leverage the training. Or you can go
Okay.
down the path of like using some fabricated experience in the community. That would be the resources doc there. That you can try both paths, see what works for you. But it isn't necessary, like Stefan, who's just got promoted into a closer. I'm using these guys a lot as the same examples, but he had no prior experience. You know what I mean? It's really about just being proactive, doing a lot of opportunities, applying to a lot of opportunities, excuse me, and someone's going to bite. You just have to portray yourself well, look good, have a good Loom video, come across confident, speak confidently, portray yourself well, all of those types of things, and you'll be ready to hit the ground running. It's just a volume game, honestly, at the end of the day. That is simply what it is a lot of the time. All right,
Thank you.
Yolanda, we'll answer your question, then we'll dive into sharing my screen and running through the presentation today. What's up?
Awesome. Hi, guys. Thanks, Sebastian. So,
No worries.
as you know, I'm self-employed. So, do you think it's a good idea to use that when I apply for these roles, or should I leave that out?
No, definitely good. Because
Oh,
I mean,
okay,
as a
cool.
business owner, Yolanda, you're covering all aspects from the front end to the back end of a company. So I can imagine your daily
100%.
tasks entails client acquisition and marketing.
100%. Awesome.
So
Thanks.
leverage that. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. All right, let's get rocking and rolling. So what we'll do today is we'll run through, wow, I've got a lot of, this is the biggest call I've taken in a minute, 31 people. This is going to be super good for you guys. We're going to run through interviews. So let me just switch this to, yeah. For interviews, we'll do a topic today, or we'll mainly focus on interviews. If we have extra time, what we'll also jump into is best practices post-interview and how to vet offers. Like vet will be a good role for you, right? Which is also a brief little thing here, which we can run through. Some of you guys may have watched this, but I will also, expand on this call and give you guys deeper insights as well around everything to do with interviewing. So the first thing I'll say when it comes to interviewing is what all of you have to remember is if you've done your Loom video and apologies, I just want to mute my WhatsApp. That ping is going to drive me nuts. Sorry. The first thing you have to remember in this industry is, and in any industry, is why would a business owner watch your Loom video, dedicate themselves to watching that, listening to you, and then put you on an interview not to hire you? If you've been put onto an interview, the first thing you should think is, I already have, which it is pretty much the case, an extremely high chance of landing this position. If you think of it from a business owner's perspective, they're not going to put you onto an interview if they didn't already envision you within the company. Right? Super important to remember. So I know a lot of you, it's absolutely normal. Myself, the first interview I had, I was shivering in my boots under the table, right? But you shouldn't go into it with that perspective. You need to remember that when you're going into those interviews, that there's already an extremely high chance of getting hired and they've already envisioned you within the company, hence putting you onto an interview. Like most of the heavy lifting is done before the interview. A lot of people already make their mind up of who they want to hire based on the looms a lot of the time. And then they'll interview just to get a deeper insight into the candidates they did think would be the best fit. So just remember that, like once you've sent over Loom, you've been accepted to an interview. Here's the good news. Like I say, they're not going to put you on an interview if they didn't think you're a potential hire. A lot of people ask me or say, I don't think it went that well if they asked you X or Y. And is that bad? Remember, guys, it's normal to make mistakes as well. Just keep in mind before you get onto an interview, they wouldn't put you through if they didn't personally think of hiring you. All of you may make a mistake on an interview. That's not going to be the needle mover. And it's not going to be like a game changer. It's normal to make mistakes on interviews. Obviously, the more flawless you can do it, the better. But granted, like all of us are human, we're going to say something we wish we didn't want to say. But one thing you have to remember as well is if companies are hiring for quite a important position, they will do a couple interviews. They're not going to remember the little mistake you made, which you may think in your own head was a big one. What they're going to remember is the main ways they saw you and the way you portrayed yourself. Oh, I remember Richard, confident, happy-go-lucky, really well-spoken, great experience, great background. Enjoyed the call with him. Great fit in this because you got this, and this characteristic. They're not going to remember, oh, Richard said this instead of that. Right? They'll remember the main things that they want to remember about you. So another thing here, when you do get accepted, make sure to get in contact with the offer owner or sales manager and say thanks for all the information. You look forward to connecting with them. You can also ask if there's anything you would need to prepare. Which also just comes across better. So if you guys do have the opportunity to do so, you do get in contact, maybe the manager or the owner reaches out to you personally to send over the invite for that interview. Make sure to ask them if there's anything specific you should prepare prior to the interview other than what they said. That can also help out a lot. Just going that extra mile, but always make sure to message them prior to the interview. That also shows you're serious. It shows you're prepared. And it's a good look out the gate, just dropping them a brief message. Hey, thanks so much for giving the next steps in the process. I really look forward to the interview and can't wait to speak to you. Is there anything else apart from what you've sent over that I need to specifically prepare prior to the call? No, there isn't. Cool. Awesome. Then you prepare. So research. This is obviously the first and most important thing, in my opinion, before getting into an interview. All of us know this to be true, right? From just experience in life. One thing that I don't have in here, I have it here, but I don't have it for the Loom section. I was having a discussion with Nazar at the in-person event. One thing that's very important to leverage in the Loom videos as well is if you can find the company's mission, make sure to reference that. So for example, their company's mission is to help 100 veterans with PTSD. or whatever, right? Something like that. Make sure to leverage that within the Loom video. I really align with your guys' mission of helping do X, Y, Z. Hence, like, and that's why I can see myself being a good fit. That's also something really great you can leverage on interviews, right? The purpose of us doing research prior to the interview, specifically on certain topics of the company and testimonials, etc., is to leverage that information within the interview. This is specifically what helped me land roles a lot of the time, is that I'll do that. They would ask, why do you feel you'd be a good fit for this company? And I would say, well, look, number one, apart from everything else I'm about to mention, is I do really just align with what you guys are doing. I saw the mission statement on the website of helping people do X, Y, Z, which is super in line with what I want to do. Being able to step into a company like this and help someone like Emma go from X to Y, fulfilling the mission will be extremely fulfilling for myself. That shows so much professionalism. It shows you've done a background check. So many of the people in this industry are so fucking lazy. They'll go into that interview and they don't even know which company they are having the interview for. Like, I can promise you guys, the barrier to entry and the competition is so low. People are so lackluster and put so little effort. Just going that extra mile with regards to everything that you will cover in that call is going to make a massive difference like that. So super important, obviously. Make sure to study one test. Oh, wow. What was that? Anyways, moving forward, make sure to study one client testimonial from the company and make sure to leverage that during the interview. But this is what I would do this with a lot of information, because throughout the duration of the interview, they will ask specific questions where you can incorporate some of the background you've done on the company, regardless of what it is they may ask. Right? So that's number one. I would always make sure to do a lot of research and then implement the research you've done within the questions that they ask you on the interview. Understand the company's mission, vision, values, and culture, obviously very important. If you can find links to yourself within the company, say there's other South Africans in the company, say you've seen that business owner's been to a safari in, Gauteng or whatever, talk about it, right? Those little things also add up, right? That's super important. That's terrible English. Familiarize yourself with their product, services, and target audience as well, right? This is something I always say. For example, someone like Luke just comes to the top of my head that used to work pretty much in blue collar. He was doing a combination of electrical work, construction work, etc. Say you work for a company that services construction companies, helps them with lead generation. You can then leverage your prior experience with regards to the niche that company operates in. Like the last call, we walked through how Gavi works in an e-commerce company, right? If he's applying for an e-commerce company, he can use that in the interview, right? Like being an e-commerce company myself, I know exactly the type of people you'll be speaking to on a daily basis, all the pain points, struggles, and things that they face personally, and the best ways to navigate around that. That's also super important. Always try. Pretty much what I'm getting at here, I don't want to make this long-winded, is leverage as much as you can from your personal experiences, knowledge, and the background you can do on the company within the interview. Going that extra mile, that's going to make a massive difference for yourself on the call compared to others, right? Say me and Usi had the same interview, and I said, I leverage the company's mission and why would I be a good fit? And Usi just said, I would be a great fit for this role because I'm the hardest worker you'll ever meet and I'm super dedicated. They're going to take the person who went the extra mile and mentions those things, obviously, but then also more around it. Then also, yeah, just like we mentioned in the Loom video call, just staying up to date on what people are posting, client wins, reels, etc., is also very good. Just keeping in the loop with the company, right? Why do I say this? Say you saw on the business owner's personal Instagram or business Instagram that the day prior he went to the shooting range. I don't know. I just thought of that on the spot. Then when you hop onto the interview, it's like, oh man, I saw 2 days ago you were at the shooting range. That's something super cool. We can't do that in South Africa. Like, how is that as an experience? Extra mile, right? These things add up throughout the duration of the interview. Because if you can stack as much unique things throughout the interview, they're going to remember that. If you're going to do it 1 or 2 times, it probably will slip their mind. But if you can keep on stacking these things throughout the duration of the interview, it's also going to make you what? Way more rememberable. What's a very important part of being hired? The person that they remember the most from the interviews they've also done. And the more you implement those types of things, the more they'll remember you. Usi, the guy who did so much research prior to the interview. That guy's super serious. Super important. All right, before I move forward, any questions on that? I see Johan. It looks like you're trying to. Oh, you're trying to put thumbs up. I thought you were going to unmute. All right. No one. Oh, Gavi, I
Yeah,
can see. I'm
I've-
scrolling down through the videos. Yeah, what's up?
So this is within the interview. Would it be all right to, let's call it, repeat what you've said in the Loom as well? For example,
Absolutely.
all right.
Yeah. You can continue just to make sure I'm not saying absolutely, and then you say something
Oh, no, but
different.
you seem to get it. I was going to say, based like you told me to go on my e-commerce. So like I did a application today for an e-commerce role. If I get it, let's God willing, then I want to know if I can repeat what I said in the Loom in the interview.
Absolutely. They're not going to remember what you said in the Loom by the time the interview occurs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah, Shane, what's up?
Hi guys, Seb, I just have a question. When you apply for a fitness role with someone that has fitness experience, would it be suitable to mention that? Let's say I apply for a DM set of role with on a fitness offer, and I'm an online coach myself. Would it be suitable to mention that? Because that they might see that as, I don't know, competition, or that's just been on my mind recently when applying for these roles. Thank you.
Absolutely not, bro. Absolutely not. Like, I don't know exactly, like Shane, I also see some of your stuff a lot of the time. What certificate, maybe you have like a certification in personal training, or maybe just have so much knowledge on it. You can maybe spin it in a bit if you are fearful of that, like because you run your own fitness coaching thing. You can say, like, I've been coaching fitness personally myself for the past 5 years. Obviously, I don't know all your background. Maybe you have certain certifications, certain person you've taken from X to Y. Maybe you've coached a professional rugby player that's playing professional now, and they face this one extreme issue that you help them break out of because of the knowledge you have. Like, really make it nice and tailored to your background, but absolutely mention that, like, I can't tell you how important that is. For example, like when just something stupid, I'll use this example again. When I hired the CSM role, the main thing I pretty much looked at is how knowledgeable is this person of the industry we are all trying to get into already are in. I don't care who you are. Like that was my main thing. Do you genuinely know a lot about it, the process, all of that, and can you help others replicate the same thing? So if you're applying to a fitness company and you literally have got certifications in it, it's like a no-brainer for the owner. Wow, I can get someone in my sales team that's already a professional in this field. Like what a massive bonus. You know what I mean? So yeah, 100%. 100%. And yeah, bro, the market's huge. Fitness is like, one of the biggest markets in the world. I mean, if you say it more as like it's a side hobby or whatever, like it's going to make it even more, what would be the word? Enticing for the person who's hiring. So yeah, definitely. Johan, I saw you had a question.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add something to what Shane said. So I noticed that, so I kind of just wrote it down to get like it in its full glory. It's like, so I said, mine was by chance because I was already following the person that I obviously applied the offer for. So I was familiar with what they were posting in their content. So like what Shane said now with competition, a lot of the time when they can relate to you, it actually makes a difference. So what I said is, what massively helped me was in quoting parts of the posts that I had seen this person make, and how that impacted me, and how I would like to have a part in impacting people in that same way. So like I wrote down, it shows you're invested, but you shouldn't like make stuff up. So be authentic, because it's much easier to sell the truth than it is to sell a lie. So ask yourself genuinely, how did it impact you? And like with you, for instance, Shane, you can sell that authentically because you really do understand the fitness industry. So if you see something, for instance, in a fitness page's content that really impacted you, it sometimes helps to just entice that little bit of emotion and just highlight it out to them. And then, it just shows kind of you are familiar with what they do, and just automatically makes a link between you and them. That was kind of just what I thought. Yeah, I don't know if it's a valid point or if I took that wrong, but that's how I experienced it at least. Yeah.
100%. That's probably, leveraging some, because you landed the role with Timon, right? So
yeah,
probably, if you've been following him for a very long time, incorporating the lessons or the impact he's had on you will help out massively. because it shows that you already know exactly what you're getting yourself into, and the type of person you are is the type of person that the company would speak to on a daily basis. And you know the exact type of influence that his content has had on you, so you'd know exactly how it's impacting others. It's massive. It's a massive thing to incorporate. I'll just say that. But yeah, no, you said it very well. What's up, Emma?
Hey, so I know last time you said that for now I should just be applying to as many roles as possible. But is it completely unorthodox to um to send in a Loom video for like a company that I don't actually know much about, but I can do quick research on it and just hope for the best?
Of course. Like, I would say, when you're starting out, like, it's a luxury to be able to land a role that you really align with. But starting out, as long as it's a really good company that genuinely helps people, I would get your foot in the door, because once you then get that experience, you have the luxury, if you didn't get it off the first go, to then apply for roles that you align with even more. So for me, it's more, this depends on the person, but I would still go ahead and apply for all types of roles. And then when you have even more experience under the belt, you have more of a luxury to go pick and choose.
Okay, but what if it's something like trading that I know absolutely nothing about? Wouldn't that damage my chances
Yeah,
of getting
so 100%. So 100% not in the case that it wouldn't, but if you go have a look through here, Jamie, who's on a trading offer, he sent through this recording of a chat, right? I don't want to make a long-winded answer out of this.
I'll have a look at
Not
it.
once in the whole conversation, you can go have a look at it, does he talk about the intricacies of trading. Setting is not about having the knowledge on what you're selling, but it's a bonus. You don't need to have that extensive knowledge on what you're selling. It's something that you can learn. It's something that the company will probably ramp you up on. It's something that if you're a DM setter, you can ask ChatGPT on before you answer someone. Like, that is the last thing you should be worrying about. Is like, do I know a lot about this? My first role was for a vegan fitness coaching platform. I knew the last I knew the last thing about vegan fucking meal planning and all of that, and like tofu and soya and all of this. Like, I would just like Google it while I was on. I'd go on the go. So it really doesn't matter. It's for me more, and I think everyone on this call is, if you genuinely what you are doing, it helps others in some regard. That's what ultimately matters. When you're closing, sure, right? Then it makes a lot of sense to know about the product you're selling. But that is something you extensively get walked through as in an onboarding period as a closer, right? A skilled closer, once again, like a setter, guys, do you think we talk about like the product super in depth and the intricacies of it? No. We're here to facilitate the transformation. It's the coach's job to educate them. Setters and closers, it's not our job to educate that person. It's our job to change their life and facilitate
Thank
that
you.
transformation. No worries. Unimke. Sure, we've got a lot of questions here. I think I may let's move through them a bit quicker. But yeah, Unimke, what's up?
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask, when you are in a group interview setting, right? And let's say you're one of the last people to go, and they've asked a question and you have an answer ready, but maybe before you, other people have already kind of said a similar answer that you're going to say. Do you stick with your guns as to how you're going to answer the question, or do you try and find a way to maybe just tweak it a little bit so that you do stand up with your answer?
Look, like, it's going to be tough sometimes on your feet to think of something new to say. I would say yes, if you can add a little bit of a spin to make you more unique within that duration that you have the time to think of the answer, go ahead. Otherwise, stick to your guns, because you're better off doing that than flopping your answer and like trying to overthink and say something on the spot. But that's how group interviews will roll if you're last. But you know what's the pro of being the one asked last? Is you're the one who they're
What?
going to remember the answer the most. Do you think once they get to guy number 5, they're going to remember what guy number 1 said?
Yeah, probably not.
Not really, right? So there's pros and
Yeah,
cons to it. Like, first, you can obviously give the most tailored, unique answer, but last, you can have the most memorable answer. So if you can,
100%.
fit in something a bit more unique there, it would be great. Or what you can do is you can ask a very brief question after what your answer
Okay.
to stand out. Get more talk time.
All right, thanks.
No worries. Yes, Yolanda. We'll move on after your question, Yolanda.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Seb. I just wanted to check, how do we verify or vet the legitimacy of these companies? Outside of Setter Syndicate, by the way. So ever since I've watched your videos and I've been doing research, my algorithm has been feeding me a lot of Setters ads, and a lot of positions looking for Setters. I'm like, could this be it? Could this be it? How do we
No,
verify that?
never,
Or should I
ever.
just stick to what I'm getting from the platform, the Discord platform?
Yeah, never ever apply for roles that are on ads. Why would people put out ads to fill a position?
Okay, cool.
Like, look, will they be a needle in the haystack where someone genuinely wants to have a massive pool of applicants, even if they don't intend on hiring, but want to build out a pipeline of applicants for future hires? Maybe a huge company, right, that wants like a list of 100 Loom videos. So when they need to fill a position again, they've already got a bunch of applications. Maybe. But what you'll find a lot of the time for that is what you really want to stay clear from is like OnlyFans chatters. Like the men or women that they'll put in there to act as the woman to speak to the clients. A lot of the
Goodness.
time people will run ads to full positions like that because it's such an undesirable job. So a lot of the time they may advertise it as a setting role. The next thing you know, you're gonna have to try sell nude pictures and stuff. So just be very wary. Like if it's too good, like this is within reason, right? Because I don't really like the saying in life, it's too good to be true. But sometimes like that, you just got to do a bit more background. Like maybe if you see an ad for a position, you go do a background check and it all checks out, looks good, then yeah, sure, maybe look into it. But most of the time, if you're gonna go look for roles on your own on Facebook groups or off an ad on Instagram, you're gonna get problems.
All right, cool.
But
Thanks, eh?
yeah, but on this call as well, we'll be running through, if I have enough time here, which I don't mind going a bit over time as well. We'll be running through steps on how to verify and vet a company in depth. But yeah, let me move maybe with a bit more pace here. So, because a lot of the stuff you guys will really know already, a lot of it. So number 2, guys, definitely obviously understand the role. Like carefully read the job description, ask questions related to it on the interview if applicable. Check the key skills or niche it's in and see if you have any relatable skills on it. Like I mentioned prior, relatable skills or things you relate of it, right? Like I'll just use Johan here, Timon, right? Johan's definitely a Christian. What is Timon? It's a massive, I believe it's like helping Christians build a business, like online business, as far as I'm aware. Then you can leverage that. Like, I align with this very much because I'm the same type of person. But yeah, if you have experience as well, that's even better. Like the example, Gavi, working in e-commerce, you're applying to e-commerce company, you've got the link. That's very important. Job description is important because why? When you get into an interview, they may ask you a question around something that was listed, and if you don't know the answer, guess what? This guy didn't do his checks. This guy's not prepared. So that's just a small one. You just want to obviously that just ties into being prepared. Going with the previous point here, so this one, you can prepare a point or experience from that which is suitable for the interview. So what I mean by this, even though it's not the greatest English, is if you know you have that link going into the interview, make sure even to prepare something around it. So when you do ask a question, you can have it. Keenan, I think can you guys see the drawings? Was it just me? Someone's like writing on the Zoom call with yellow text.
Yes, we can.
I don't know how we have proficient rights to do that, but let me just erase it. But yeah, this is very fundamental, very basic. All of us will be familiar with this. I've talked about it a lot now. Just keep in mind, once again, what I do want you guys to take away from the call tonight is really research wins. Research and preparation wins the interview. That's what it does most of the time. Then common questions you can ask yourself is, obviously tell me more about yourself. Why do you want to work here? Why do you think it'd be a good fit for a company? What are your strengths or weaknesses? Where do you see yourself in 5 years is a good one. I like to ask. Tell me about the time you faced a challenge and you handled it. This is a very common one. Sometimes even in the type form, tell me about a challenge you faced and how you overcame it. Right? So what do I mean by prepare? If you're going to get asked this question in an interview, you already know how you'd answer it prior to going into the interview. They ask you that, you already know your answer. So you say it immediately. Right? Same with strengths and weaknesses. One thing that I always struggled with is weaknesses. Like if I were to ask someone on the call here, what do you think is your weakness? A lot of the time it's something that we don't know on the spot because that takes a lot of introspection. What would be the correct thing? Introspection, I think is the correct word. You got to be introspective, right? So that's also something important to prepare. Like for me, myself, I would know, say one of my weaknesses would probably be time management to a certain extent, I would say. Like not prioritizing my weekends enough. But you guys all know we all have weaknesses. Having that prepared prior is also good, you know? And I also wouldn't say, depending on the interview and how you structure it, and if you're going for like the super confident route, I wouldn't say I have no weaknesses. You do want to be transparent about that a lot of the time. You know, this is a really good one that a lot of interviewers ask. Another one that they may ask is, why shouldn't I hire you? That you want prepared. You know, if someone's on the interview and they're going to ask you, why shouldn't I hire you? You should have an answer prepared for that. Or you can, if you want to, you can say there's no reason you shouldn't. But sometimes having it applicable based on it depends based on the conversation you've had with that person. But that's also something you want prepared. Would you be able to commit long term? Obviously, that's yes. What sets you apart from other potential setters? This is obviously the one, guys, where you don't want to just be that person who says, I'm the hardest working person you'll ever meet. That's what every Tom, Dick, and Harry says, right? Like, you know, you got to be a bit more unique. If you say what sets you apart from other potential setters we may hire, you want to talk about the high leverage things and things that differentiate a top class setter from an average one. For example, you know, I always like the example as a setter being detached from the outcome. If you're on a commission-based role, you're not getting paid per call booked. You have to be detached. You have to understand it's a statistical game. I have to do X, Y, Z every single day based on the numbers over the past month and to ensure I get this result. Ultimately, the person you may book from a call on paper could see amazing, and then on the call they get on there and then absolute twat, right? It just sometimes it happens. So being completely detached from the outcome, prioritizing the lowest hanging fruit, high leverage tasks, prioritizing follow up, knowing money's in the follow up, right? Like these are the things that set apart a great setter from an average one. You can incorporate there, like I'm a very hard worker, or I've faced a lot of diversity throughout my life, and it's built XYZ characteristic, which I do feel a lot of people won't have that may be applying to this position. Be a bit more unique is pretty much what I'm trying to get at here. But these are some good general questions you want to have the answers for already in your head going into an interview. Look, is it a bad thing if they ask you a question, you sit in silence for a bit, like this, and you actually genuinely think about your answer? It's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you can answer quick, punctually, and effectively, that's better. But if they do genuinely ask you a great question and you haven't prepared it, do think on it. Don't just blurt out something crappy. Moving on. All right. Any quick questions around this? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Cool. But yeah, prepare questions. You guys will see here. Here's a lot of questions you can potentially ask. We'll run through that now. Logistics, you know, we'll dive into that. Dress appropriately. Obviously, this is one I talk about a lot. The one thing I would just say is there's two things you kind of want to steer clear from. Otherwise, you can't really go wrong. Like most of us already look pretty fine. What I would say is don't go in a suit. Unless specified to do so. That's it. That's just you're doing too much at that point. But then don't go in pajamas, right? It's pretty simple on that point right there. My personal advice would just be smart casual, always. Like professional, like Kelly, you look very nice. You know, that would be like a good one. Or let me look through the pictures here. Like even Logan, you know, the glasses is already a good one. Glasses, analytical guy. It's good. You know, but you don't have to do, you know, really overthink that one. Just don't look like an imbecile, pretty much. But here's my recommendation. Whoops. Sweet. Then logistics and technical preparation. I'll run through this very briefly because it's not too important, but it is important at the same time. Obviously, confirm the interview time. How many of you guys have messaged me and said I missed the interview? You would not believe. Like, make sure when you have the interview booked into your calendar, whether you use Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, or whatever other calendar, you confirm the meeting, maybe even block out half an hour before on your calendar. I would recommend everyone on this call to start using a calendar and block out their days, certain time blocks for certain things, hold yourself accountable to certain standards. If you've got an interview, you've blocked that out, you prepared time before, make sure you've accepted the meeting, you know whether it's on Zoom or Google Meet. Make sure prior to the meeting, I'll probably mention this in these points there's no issues with your mic, there's no issues with your webcam. You've got a backup webcam or mic if something does, for instance, go wrong. Your laptop's charged, it's not unplugged. You've got a backup source of staying on the interview if there's a power cut, us South Africans. right? These are all things you need to think of. I remember when I was doing interviews in 2023, we were on stage 8. So I went and bought myself like a little 1 hour inverter on Gumtree for like 2,000 Rand. Then I would plug that into the Wi-Fi and my laptop's charging cable so that if in the rare case there was a random cut, I would still be on the call. Just the lights would go off. But then, obviously, if I know it's in the night, then I would have a light prepared. It's the simple things once again, but I know for everyone on this call, they're like, oh, Sano, this is the most basic shit ever. How many of you guys flop on this behalf? Or even myself, I've taken an interview and the guy joins on his phone. Like, are you kidding me? Is this a joke? Like you coming on the interview like this? Come on, be serious. So I would read through these in your own time. We'll move past this just to move through the call. But super important, right? Make sure this one is super important. I would be 10 minutes early into the room. I know some guys who may do hiring and then they'll join specifically 10 minutes early to see if the person's already in the room to gauge the level of commitment. Sometimes I would even do that. I would join like 5 minutes early. If the guy's not on the call, it's already a bit of a red flag for me. Right, so that's also just a good one there. If you have the U1 in the community, he said he joined the interview 15 minutes early and the guy joined 10 minutes early and he was already there. Like these sound a bit far-fetched, but I promise you it all adds up. This will make a difference. If you guys can compound everything that we walk through tonight into an interview and into the process of an interview, it's going to become relatively flawless. I see there's something in the chat here. Seb, where do we find these notes? That would be within the course material. Just send me a message post-call if this is not like in a file attached to the specific WAP video. And then just message me or Luke Erasmus privately and we can send you the full material on that if it is for some reason. Excuse me, guys, not there. All right, moving forward. Any questions? Well, that all makes sense. Thumbs up if that does. Cool. All right. Then this is pretty fundamental. This is important. We'll run through this quickly. Maintain eye contacts, guys. The worst thing I hate when I do interviews and then I see someone like looking around, maybe they fiddling with something. What are you doing? It's so easy though to get distracted when you're on remote, when you are remote. Like maybe you work in an open area and you see your boyfriend walking by and then you're looking at him and then you hear something hit the floor and you're like this. Just try, quiet space, no distractions. Very important. Be yourself. Very important. Crack a smile here and there if need be. Don't be so uptight and serious. One of the biggest things in this industry is company culture. I can probably bet, Johan, a big reason you probably ended up landing that role is because you were a good culture fit as well for the company. You jumped on the call and you aligned very much with I know Cameron's a legend. He's such a cool guy. But also Timon. I also met Timon in person at the Greenpoint gym. One of the nicest guys I've ever met. Like, you just need to be yourself, right? That's the people appreciate that, coming across genuinely genuine. Super important. Be personable, be yourself. This goes a long way in this industry. I put beer example here. I walked through this the other day, but there's this one guy. I actually won't tell the story. Those who were on the prior calls remember the story that I told. But just be yourself. Culture fit is huge. Demonstrate enthusiasm. Don't be too excited. Don't overdo it, but be enthusiastic. And then this is a super important one. This one has deterred me personally from not hiring people. Is people who interrupt. I don't know how some people can do this, but you would be on an interview and they ask you a question, you already start answering before they're done speaking. Do not interrupt. Even wait a few seconds after they're done speaking before you answer, because sometimes there may be a micro delay with the Zoom call. Do not interrupt. Yo, when I was on this one call and they just keep interrupting, that's not very nice. Like, it's not a deal breaker, but it's not good, right? Just keep that in mind. Very small point. Yeah, like I say, wait even a pause a little bit before answering the questions. And then another thing is just speak clearly and concisely, guys. So I know me on these calls, I speak super quick, like a lot of the time, but speak concisely, clear, and not too slowly, but like this, speak like this when you're on the call. Very clearly. For example, I know, I don't know if Ruben or Chadley are on the call. You guys are two types of people that tend to speak very fast. When you're on the call, just speak a little bit slower, clear, concise. Very important. Especially us South Africans, some of us may have a little bit of a different English accent. You want to make sure they understand everything you say. Very important. Cool. That's very basic though, very fundamental. I would just recommend having a skim over these post-call, guys, if you do forget anything. I don't want to put too much attention or add too much extra detail because I want to get through some of the back end stuff here. Then lastly, after an interview, pretty much like how we walked through on the last call with regards to Loom videos on post Loom steps, it's pretty similar with interview. It's the same type of steps, right? Like make sure to message them afterwards. Send a personalized thank you message, email, DM within 24 hours, preferably directly after the call. For example, you've had the interview, it went really well. They said, we'll get back to you Sunday. Hey, Gavi, thank you so much for the opportunity and the interview today. It was a really productive conversation. I really enjoyed it and appreciate your time. With that said, I'm wishing you luck with the rest of the interviewing process and hope you find the ideal candidate. I look forward to potentially working with you guys and hearing back from you on Sunday. Something simple like that, right? That's very important after the interview. Because how can you have an interview and then not message afterwards? And just leave it in, to go into a black void. Don't do that, right? Very important. You can reiterate your interest, obviously, and refer to specific points within the interview when you're doing the post message, like implementing that, personalizing it to the conversation you had is very good. Then ask any further questions if applicable, otherwise don't, and that you look forward to hearing back from them. But then, guys, like I said, go look back to the Loom video section. There's lots of other things we can do. Say we do not get hired. What do? We don't ask them, okay, when would you be looking to hire again? We say, okay, all good. I really appreciate it. Where do you feel throughout the whole hiring process in the Loom and application process I could have improved, or what could have I changed to land this position? Then they'll answer that out of the frame of you already being in the company and what they would expect from you. Then something that I don't believe is here, maybe it is somewhere more down the line here. A very, very important thing. This is one thing I did really want to touch on in this call. When you are on the interviews is when they ask you at the end. So it should actually pretty much be here. They say, do you have any questions for me? Very important, even throughout the conversations in the interviews, asking questions that get the interviewer to already envision you being part of their company. I always like this example. So towards the end of the interview, it's like, well, sweet Johan, I really appreciate the conversation so far and everything we've been discussing. With that said, say you were to hire me today and I was to work with you for 12 months. What 12 months from now would you have liked to have seen me do, which would have made you feel like this was an excellent hire? Then he's literally going to answer that question out of the perspective of you've already been there for 12 months. What does that do? It gets the interviewer to think out of the frame of you're already part of the team. Questions like this. So say they ask a question around the KPIs or whatever. You can say 100% like that's something I can definitely commit to doing. On top of that, though, based on the top performers within your team, what type of actions would I be needing to do on a daily basis in order to replicate the performance of the top performers in your team 12 months from now? They're going to answer that question out of the frame that you're already working for them and a top performer. They get thinking about you already crushing it in the company. Things of this manner, right? That's super crucial. That's just another edge you'll give yourself over other interviewers because you'll have that interview and you'll have been the one person, maybe someone else does it by chance, where he envisioned you in the company throughout the duration of the interview already, or she, right? Cool. Before I move forward, any questions on that? Any questions on anything we've ran through so far? Easy. All right. Let's keep it rolling. So here's some specific questions that they may ask you in the interview. I think there's just 2 points I want to skim through here. Otherwise, you can go ahead and read over this yourself because there's something important I want to do when it comes to just walking through when it comes to vetting offers. We'll run through now, guys, how to reverse engineer your earnings within a company and how to vet companies for a brief last 10 minutes here. But these are just some questions. So we could potentially ask them. What are the highest leverage questions? The questions I just told you guys. Those are the ones you want to be asking first. If applicable, you can ask them, what's the company's current monthly cash collected? That's a crucial question, but we'll dive into why it is just now. How long has the company been running? Very good question to ask, right? How many setters and closers are there currently on the offer? Very good question to ask. How does the commission structure work? Don't bother asking this. You'll see this question here and maybe somewhere else. I've got a question also in, I believe you call it italics. Don't ask these questions, these two here I see, unless you already have experience and are genuinely an asset. Because if this is your first interview, you don't have the leeway to ask someone, what am I going to make? How arrogant are you to ask that? You're here to prove your proficiency and perform in any ways earn well. So these two questions here, say, for example, not in a like arrogant way, if I were to wanting to get another setting position, I would ask these directly. Like, what would the base pay and commission structure look like? However, we don't need to ask these if it's one of our first interviews because we can simply reverse engineer that. I'll dive into a brief overview of what that looks like, and then I'll read through the rest of the questions here. But one very simple way as a setter, as us on interviews, we can establish what we'll make is with two questions, apart from the base pay. And it's this. How many setters are on the team currently? We've got 4. It's 3 questions, apologies. No, it's 2. And then you ask directly after that, what is the company's monthly cash collected? Not revenue, cash collected. And say, for example, they say we've got 2 setters and we do 100K a month. What is 100 divided by 2? 50. So $50,000 cash collected on average each. Granted, obviously, maybe one guy did 65 and the other did 35. What is industry standard com rate? 5%. What's 50,000 times 5? 2,500. You've just worked out what you'd make without having to ask them what you'll make. And they won't even pick up on it. How many setters are in the team? What's the monthly cash collected? We do $1 million a month. We've got 15 setters. All right, that maybe is tough math. $1 million a month, we've got 10 setters. 100K cash each, 5%, $5,000 com, excluding base. Done. So that's very simple way. That's a good way of how to vet offers, which we'll dive into shortly. But other questions is like this. Yeah, you guys can have a read through this. These are all questions you're going to want to ask pretty much to do also some vetting of the company post-interview ourselves. Right? Like very key metrics you want to look at from a company would be how long they've been in business, the size, the consistency, how long have they been doing those type of numbers? Are they scaling? Are they not? What are their what are their acquisition channels? Right? Is it just social? Is it just Instagram? Or is it Instagram, paid ads, YouTube, and Google? Whatever. That's very important, right? What is their mission? What are their reviews? There's lots of stuff that goes into that. I'm actually just seeing here 752. I think what would be more applicable is actually to do a whole call around post interview and vetting offers. What do you guys think? And I can dive a bit more deeper into this because I don't want to rush through this. It's quite important. What we'll do here is we'll do a brief overview and then we'll stop with a couple minutes to just run through some questions. So you'll see here, brief 2 points in italics. Make sure not to, okay, cool. I see we want to do a call on that. Italics, I wouldn't necessarily ask that as a beginner. So post-interview and how to vet offers, we'll just do a brief overview and then we'll do a whole call specific to this. But here's how they vet an offer. So once you've asked those questions, right, these questions here, you've understood the last month's cash collected, the average over the past couple months, you can now estimate the cash collected is. That aside, I would ask them, obviously on the interview, guys, don't ask them what's the cash collected of this month. Ask them, what did you do last month? So then there's a full month's data. We did 153K, 3 setters, 51K each, $2,025 com, $2,550 com, excluding base. That's a very quick way, like we do here, that you can establish what you'd make in that company, right? So the OTE here may or may not be a true OTE. For example, this one at 200K a month. And it's a closing, so it's 10% comp. Say there's one closer on the company right now. There's probably 2 though, right? 200K cash each, 5 to 10K OTE. True OTE, probably likely, unless they've got 3 closers. So then you can also cross-reference this to that to vet the offer, right? But, see, some of them don't include the size of the company. Then you ask. That's going to help out a ton. 100K a month. That would mean there's probably 1 closer. So then, the other one, you do 50, you'd half, or then as you scale, more closers, 5 to 10K. One thing also very important to keep in mind, guys, is OTEs are also based on the other team who may have been there for months. The beauty of this industry is also your pay stacks. Right? Month 1, you may close 10 people and not all of them are paying full. Some of them are payment plans. Going into month 2, say 5 of that 10 were payment plans. You're starting the month on 5 payment plans, excluding the new cash you bring in. For example, when I worked at Club Closer, I would have about $40,000 recurring payments coming in before making new cash. So I'd already start the month with my base of 1.6k pound and then 2,000 pound on commission, if that makes sense. So sometimes based off the question, you also have to ask yourself, what's the potential of my income based over time? Because your income will grow massively, right? So that's also something just to keep in mind here. Then other than that, I'll give you guys a brief overview. So what you want to look at is obviously the leader of the company. A very crucial one I would look at is at the leader, if applicable, and you can ask, is this their main focus? You don't want a guy who's half in, half out. A guy who's fully in the info company or this agency or whatever they're doing is their sole focus is the type of person you want to work for because that's their sole priority. You know, do they genuinely care about you? Do they have coaching? Do they do one-on-one calls with you? There's so many things that go into that. This is obviously something that you can only vet really if you have access to someone in the team or you've been with the company for a little bit. If they don't do those things, it's a pretty red flag, unless it's a massive corporation. They've got managers who do that already. Right? Are they ethical? Are they transparent? Are they genuinely invested in the company's mission? Are they completely open about the operations, keeping you in the loop of the marketing side of things? What's happening there? What's going on with lead generation? What's this? What's that? Are they genuinely open about that? Do they have a strong vision? So a question I really like asking business owners on interviews is, what is your vision for the company over the next 5 years? It's a brilliant question to ask them to also get a gauge of what they're looking to do. If they don't give a very good structured answer of that, they're probably not pretty clear on their mission, where they're heading. Right? So that's also a great one then to tailor that to yourself. If he gives a super amazing answer to that, that's a massive green flag. Right? Man, there's not enough time in these calls to cover everything. I want to dive into this a lot more in depth. I think, let's see here. Growth potential is massive. Are they opening about the marketing? Another very crucial one, guys, is does the company offer training? Like a question you could ask towards the end of the interview, obviously ask the highest leverage questions first, is like, do you guys do trainings? This is so important, even just to have camaraderie within the team when you're remote, having that extra 1 or 2 calls a week when you're joining up with the team, running through conversations, seeing where you can improve, constant improvement. Because if they genuinely invested into your coaching and progression, they genuinely invested into their company as well. Massive green flag. I had 2 weekly coachings when I was at Club Closer, for example. That's a massive one. Another one, obviously, guys, to vet companies is, what does their service fulfillment look like? Do these people genuinely have an amazing product? Because if they do, it sells itself. Right? That's a massive one. If they've got, look, like this, like Goat Academy, this is where one of my friends are working. I know some of you had a group interview here. Obviously, guys, at this scale, when you close over 20,000 people, you're going to get 1 stars. It's impossible to keep everyone happy. It's just the nature of business. But this is fantastic. Like out of 20,000 people, I don't know how many reviews, 515 reviews, got a 4.3. That's very good. That's a massive green flag, right? Like what would be, I'm actually curious because I'm on this call. Yeah. Club Closer, 4.7 out of 102. So what would that be? 1 in 10 people rated below 5-star, which is very good, right? Very, very good. Then other things you guys can look at when you're within a company, this is very advanced, is simple metrics like, what is this company's churn rate? What is retention like? It's one thing to close someone on a payment plan, then the next month they're out. Why is this important? Because if they have great retention, our commission checks stack. There's so many important factors that play into this. So I think what we'll do is we'll do a full in-depth call on that, all of those best practices, how to vet offers, all of those things, also for when you're on an offer trajectory, all of that good stuff. But yeah, it can go quite intricate. There's a lot of things you need to view. Other than that, I hope this was a helpful call. I think with what we went through today on the interviews, you guys will absolutely smash it even more than you probably already are smashing it. But we've got a couple minutes here. Any questions? Information overload, I take it. Yo, you guys, everyone looks quite tired. What were we getting up to on Sunday? All right. Anyways, guys, look, does anyone, Martin, you've got a question? Did you have a question? Oh, there we
Yes,
go.
evening, Sano. Good evening, everyone. I just have a question around, like you mentioned, like the recurring income. Are there offers that actually have like some sort of, I don't know, a recurring payment? Let's say, for example, the offer is like $5,000 per month, and if there are such offers, does your commission also recur?
This is a great question. Look, like that would mean I'll answer this question in two ways. So, yes, right? The only types of companies you'd be working for that have large retainers like that would be agencies. Google Ads agencies, SEO agencies, marketing agencies, what. There's so many different types of agencies that may sign clients on large retainers. So usually they would, yes, because why? There's 8 billion people, but there's only X amount of businesses. It's not going to be an offer where you're closing high volume like a B2C, Martin, like a B2C info product. If you're working within an agency, maybe you're signing on 3 clients a month. That's at a decent scale. I know agencies doing way more than that, but say 3, it's a 5K retainer at the agency, then your payments would stack. So you get your 5% com on that 15K, but then next month, then you get maybe your commission will drop for the retainer amount. Maybe some companies say we'll give you 5% upfront on initial close and then 3% for recurring payments, whatever. But that is the most, if you land a position for a company like that, that is the most crucial one to ask them, what is your churn rate? Churn is the term for the retention of clients, right? I don't know the book answer for that, but if they say we've got a 10% churn rate, that's freaking terrible. Churn should be sub like 3% in a good company, even lower, like sub 1 is great. But yeah, then the other answer to that, Martin, is obviously every company will maximize the amount of cash they can bring in the door. That's why there's a pay in full, a 2 split, a 3 split, a 4 split, a 5 split. Most offers you'd work for will have different price tiers and then payment plans based on that and financing based on that. So you can credit close or you can debit close on a payment plan. And then you would get also commission on the recurring payments of that. For example, we sell closing coaching for 5K a month. You're working for whoever. You close that 5K over 1K over 5 months. Then you get 5% com on that 1K over the next 5 months, granted that they stick out the duration of the payment plan, which is likely in a good, very, very likely in a good company. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
100%. I just have another quick question. There was a offer I was applying for, and just before I joined the interview, they had mentioned that you're going to get the actual offer that you will be selling. Is that typical across all the companies and opportunities?
What do you mean by that? You'll get the offer that you're selling. Like they'll
Like
teach you on.
you will get your training as a setter, and you'll also get the actual thingy that you will be setting for. Like,
Oh, yes, this is sick. Yeah, a lot of companies will do that. Like when I worked at Club Closer, I got full free access to the closing training that they would provide as well. Some companies may not, if it's like a super, say they sell like a 20K thing, they won't give that to you for free. Then they'll just have an onboarding document which outlines everything you need to know about the product and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, a lot of the time it can. That's why it's pretty cool when you have a bit of experience to maybe cherry pick. Like I know Aaron worked for e-commerce company and they had like a 50, a 20, a 15, a 8, and like a 6K package. And Aaron got full access to all the coaching that people would pay that much for as a rep. So that's pretty cool as well. Just like a side thing. Like while you're in the job, you can just build another skill. But yeah,
100%. Thank you.
yeah, sweet. No worries. Who was first? I believe was it you or Nimke? I can't remember who's. Well, anyways, we'll start with you, Nimke. What's up?
Yeah, so I want to just ask, with some of these roles, right, in just in terms of staying with you, what I picked up from Masterclass from Jackson is that we can also send over you handling an objection, for example. So is it possible that maybe in the community, let's say that I can just run a call with someone and then I can actually attach that as well as part of like a follow-up to say, look, with your offer, you guys probably receive this objection. This is how I handle it and send it over to them. If let's say you are applying not just for a setter role, but possibly a closing role.
What do you think I would answer your question with?
Possibly yes, because I mean,
Yeah,
a lot
yes,
of
right. Like if
well for
Jackson's
me,
saying that, I definitely would.
yeah, because I mean for me, I mean like to enter, obviously you want to get to the most entry level to be a DM setter role, but I would also want to apply for closing role and still find a way to present myself in that way. You know what I mean? So I'm just looking at ways as to how to approach it, even when I'm sending out a loom.
Yeah. You can just mess someone in the community, say, hey, can we quickly jump on to do this and role play this, and then you record it with something. Easy.
100%.
Sweet.
Perfect.
No worries. All right, we'll go with Emma. What's up, Emma?
Hey, so this might be a bit of a dumb question, but I have been thinking, I know somewhere in the course material you talked about apps that you can use when you're getting paid to avoid taxes. How does that fully work?
Yeah, let me send you a voice note to Emma, or I'll get Luke to send you a voice note. That's a thing that I've walked through a lot on these calls. It's not something you need to worry about now, though. The main
Okay.
priority is first to start earning for an extended period of time, then you can start looking into that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I'll send you something private for that. All right, Sean, what's up, bro?
Hi, Sebastiano, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
All right. Just wanted to ask, is there a channel where we can also do live role plays?
Yes,
Because I
so
think with me, it'll actually help me better if I'm actually like having to
live
think
as
on
in
the spot.
live as in sent with your voice.
Yeah, or like maybe like on a maybe like even like on a Zoom with someone else, and you just
Yeah, so there's two ways. You can either set up a Zoom call with someone, or you can just
all right,
jump into the voice channel.
okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right, yeah,
Then
no,
I'm not
thanks.
sure though, voice channel, if you can like, get a Fathom in here. Wow, this is making my computer lag. What the hell? But yeah, you can just jump in the voice channel. What you can do is set up a Google Meet or a Zoom. Pretty straightforward.
All
If you've
right,
got
no,
some form of Google storage, what's it called? Drive storage, you already have the full access to Google Meet, which is pretty cool.
all right, no, thanks.
No worries. Tara, you said you can't hear anything. Can you hear now? Well, Yolanda, you can ask your question first while we wait for Tara.
Cool, thanks, Seb. How does the performance of closes impact our commission as setters?
Well, either very well or not that good. One thing you have to remember is closing is cutthroat, like genuinely very cutthroat role. There's no base pay most of the time unless you're in a more of an account executive type of position. So one thing you always have to remember is a closer obviously is not going to jump on the call to not close. They eat what they've closed, right? They get paid what they close. Their ultimate goal is to close every single call they get on. Granted, some closers may not perform to the standards you would want, but as long as they're closing at above 20%, that's good, you know? Then you just need to start looking at your numbers and then reverse engineer what you need to do in order to get X output. But closers have extensive training. Me, myself, I do 4 coaching calls a week with my team internally on closing. It's the same throughout other companies. There's always feedback, extra additional coaching. All closers will also be in programs, consistently trying to improve. So look, there may be a closer who comes on and max 2 months. If they're still not doing anything, they'll get cut. Like max, usually it'll be 1 month. And usually closers will have a ramp up period, like a 2 week trial. And if they pass, they keep the role. If they don't, they're out. So generally speaking, as long as they're closing at the company's KPI. So say their KPI is 20%. That's good. That means over the data, as long as they've ran the company, 20% is the rate they need to be operating at, then you're good, right? But if it closes below KPI, then obviously it will impact your com. But it's something we can always improve, right? Um, it's a numbers game eventually when you offer long enough. You know exactly what you need to do regardless of the closer's close rate to get the output that you want.
All right, cool. Thanks.
No worries. Tara, if you can hear us, do you have a question?
Hi, yes, I'm back now. I hope I didn't miss too much. I see people are talking about role play. What do you mean role play? Is it where the one person asks another person questions or tries to be the
When one,
client or
yes, where one person acts as a prospect and one acts as a setter, just to pretty much practice the skill set of actually setting, so that when you're plugged into a company, you can perform to a high standard out the gate.
is there role plays that you set out for us that we can do or are we doing it to each other?
You do it to each other, yeah. You just ask someone in the community, do you want to do one? You can just drop a message in the channel. You can do one. You can do one with a family friend. There's lots of ways you can do it. I would recommend doing it with someone in the community. If your question is like, is there examples of what to set that I've set out for you to use prior to it? No, but remember, it's pretty self-explanatory. Like, just use a niche, even if you want, go copy a niche from the job board and then use that as the outline. And remember, as a setter, what you're selling doesn't actually ultimately matter based on the questions we ask throughout the sales process. Like, what you're selling really doesn't matter that much. So it's more about role playing, will be more about just getting the skill set under your belt and getting proficient at it.
Okay, I understand. I have another question. Does the setter and the closer, like, how does it work money-wise? Do they split the profit, or do you pay being a setter and
No.
then get paid being a closer, or do you only get paid if it's closed?
Closers get 10%, setters get 5%, generally speaking, but it can go up. Setters can even get 10%, closers can get 20, depends on incentive structure. But generally speaking, most of the time, industry standard is 10%, 5%. And then as a setter, depending on the type of company you may work on, you may work in a company that pays you per call you book and per call that shows. So then, your income is based on that. However, what you always want is com. Always com is the best and what you'll make the most, even though it's slightly out of your control on the call. But com is always the best. When I worked at Fritz, which was the vegan fitness one, I would get paid $20 per call booked and then $30 per close, regardless of the amount. They had a $10,000 package. In my first month, I had 3 people close on the 10K amount. If I was on 5% com, just of those 3 closes, I'd have made more than I did on the whole, like 80 calls I booked that month. So you always want to be on com, unless it's a good structure with call booked. Like if they give you a really big base, like a 2K base and then X amount per call booked, yeah, worth it. But otherwise, you always want com.
Excuse me, what is com?
Commission, sorry.
A commission,
Com like
commission. I'm so
commission.
sorry.
That's all
Okay.
good. Awesome.
Last question is, you said that we need to avoid objections and leave it for the closes. What do you mean about that?
That is something you'll come more accustomed to throughout doing role plays, but sometimes you will need to handle objections as a setter. But generally speaking, you don't want to try battle someone's limiting beliefs objections within a conversation, because it's hard to do that via text, right? It's hard to break someone's belief via text. A silly example would be, say you have a friend and you wanted them to come out for drinks with you. It's hard to convince them if they don't want to over text, but if you were with them in person, it's a lot easier. Right. So that's pretty much the premise of it. As being a setter, you kind of want to be their best friend, hold their hand, like isolate the objection out of the conversation and move it forward and get them booked onto the call so the closer can handle the limiting belief and objection, rather than you trying to do it over the inbox and then getting ghosted or the conversation dying out or whatever.
Okay. And would
Yeah.
you say I'm behind if I only watch 12 out of the 36 videos that there are? Maybe I'm falling behind because I'm also working alongside, because I've seen some other
No,
people have done their looms already and gotten
no, it's all at
jobs.
your own pace, but you're gonna want to move as effectively as possible. We all have the same amount of time in the day. Some people that maybe already are through the course content have more commitments than you. And I don't mean this in like a condescending way or like a direct manner. But you're not falling behind. Don't worry. Like whether you land a job in a week or 2 weeks or 2 months, it's not really a difference. It's about what type of role you land, the level of your skill set, and the level of your interviews and applications is what really matters at the end of the day. It just depends on the person. Everyone on this call has their own timeline in which they want to achieve things. If in the case, Tara, your objective is to move quickly, then yes, you're falling behind. Not with the others. Don't compare yourself to anyone. Don't compare it to anybody, but then you're falling behind for yourself. So if your objective is to move quickly, yes, I'd recommend you to move faster. However, if you want to move on your own speed, you're not falling behind, right?
Okay.
That depends on how you view it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Anytime. All right, guys, good start to the Monday. I hope you all have a absolutely killer week. Let me know if you need anything else. Otherwise, what I'll also do after this call is I'll send the Fathom link of this call along with the Zoom recording. So you can also click on it, and then you can also copy the whole transcript of today's call if you would like. Pop that into ChatGPT. Give me a summary of the call we had at Setter Syndicate today, and you can have all the best practices summarized for you as well when it comes to interviewing, if you want just like a little bullet form list or whatever it may be. Other than that, if you have any other questions, make sure to reach out. Happy to help out at all times, of course. And I'll see you guys on Thursday. Cheers, guys. Have a good one. Ciao, ciao.